potential problem that I've identified with these Land Rover restoration videos is the excitement level sometimes can get a little high, you know, and too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. So to mitigate this issue, there's a couple of little jobs I did on the sly while you wasn't looking. So the first job we did was we cut out some rotten metal that was in here. This is where the brake light relay lives. But most importantly, there's a little hole needs to be drilled where a spring lives, and that spring, it does something. But we won't look too closely at this job because I blew some holes through the metal. I was a little ferocious on the amperage, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to hold there. So yep, we did it. Moving on. So the next job we did was we got rid of the original plates that held in the steering relay to put in some new ones. They had to be quite cunning because to get the holes lined up, I needed to come in this way and get the back one first, although I still haven't worked out how I'm going to do the front one, but we can worry about that later. They're in now, and I think they might be solid enough. So even with modern technology taking up a lot of one's creative energies, every now and then I feel the need to put pen to paper and be an artistic person in the old-fashioned way. And we've got some illustrations here I did. And these are from our series, The Mojave Road, where we did a little historical talk. There we go. We had the first non-native man to cross over on the Mojave Road in Southern California. This guy here is getting scalped. There's some very bad hombres. And Jebediah Smith, he was one of the early pioneers as well. You see how his legs somewhat detached there because he got chased across the desert by the Native Americans who were very upset with the white man at the time. Anyway, there's just some of the pictures from that little cartoon illustration. Well, I've been at it again, drawing pictures. Give you a moment to enjoy them. Just in case there's anybody out there that does not know what these represent, I'm going to tell you. This is a cross section of the front cross member as I believe it originally appeared in the vehicle. And this is how it was when I received it. And you'll notice that all this section here has been cut out, and there was even a nasty big divot there. Alright, and that allows muck and shit to get in there. Alright, equals rust. You'll have to excuse my dyslexia. I always get my I's and T's back to front. So why did this come like that? I believe the culprit may be over yonder. The V8 engine. I think that may be why, to allow clearance, that they had to cut that bit out and then re-weld it as such. Alright, so now that we've ripped all that bad stuff out and we're going to fix it up again, what we're going to do is go for more of this kind of a thing with a slight angle there and then down. Now, come over here and have a look at this. Here's the subject of our discussion, and I did fail to notice in the early stages when the engine was still in how much clearance was necessary in here, if any. I assume there's some. Now, evidence to support my belief that this was cut out on purpose is this thing here, this hole that probably allowed a shaft to come through to control a winch or something like that. You can see how it's been cut on purpose there and cut on purpose there and smashed down with a hammer, okay, to allow room. So without putting the engine back in and seeing how everything kind of fits together, to repair it I have to be very careful that I don't bring it up too high. So I have a cardboard template here of the first section I'm going to do, and that's going to fit roughly around there, just clearing this pipe thing here, and then the slightest of angles creeping up this way to the straight down, and that should allow water and muck runoff and hopefully still have the clearance necessary for the job at hand. Alright, template. Just going to go here and pen to paper. pen of steel. Either work or it won't. Now we have our pieces cut, ready for the project at hand. This was actually 3 attempts to get this one right. The initial steel I was working with was probably normal chassis steel, but the cross member's only half that thickness, so after a few mistakes I think I got it right. Okay, now many viewers have advised me on the MIG weld to go to gas, and gas we have. I did wisely start off doing some experimental welds with it, and I haven't been able to get it right. In fact, disastrous is the best way that I could put it. Let's have a closer analysis of some of these spectacular welds. Look at that, eh? Lumpy, no penetration whatsoever, just big balls sitting on the surface. Now I swapped the diodes over. I'm using solid wire 0.35. The gas is connected and turned up to an outflow between 20 and 30, whatever those cubic feet an hour is. And settings are obviously a little different to the flux core, and I just can't get it right. So one of the things I've noticed, besides dodgy settings and bad technique, because don't get me wrong, I am a shit welder. It's just that when I switch back to flux core and have a look at this side-by-side comparison, we can see there is the gas welding and that is the flux core. So I could get the sizzling bacon sound at no problem at all with flux core, not with the gas. And one of the issues that I kind of see, if you have a close look, is the porosity in the weld. So I've tried cleaning up the surfaces a little more, and I do think it's a gas flow problem. I just haven't been able to work out what that problem exactly is or how to rectify it. So I have switched back to flux core. We're going to go ahead with the project now. I do apologise to all those purists out there, but otherwise I'm not solving the problem. I don't have the ability to solve the problem, so I'm going to go with what I know. Wow, I think that's definitely fused in there at a molecular level. It's not going to go anywhere, but that is one ugly weld. something you'll notice on that on the template for the rear is I have this bit here that blocks what's left of that hole at the back, and I've created this little template here that I'm going to stick over the front and block off this hole because I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to use it, and I also think that that dirt and crap is just going to be able to get in there, like the sound effects. My rates are reasonable. Yeah, so that's going to stop stuff from getting in there, and I'm just going to weld that on. Boom. That's some of the worst welding I've ever seen. Well, congratulations guys on completing Mr. Foreman's masterclass on how not to weld. In fact, I could probably conduct a lot of masterclasses on what not to do, except maybe how not to lose your virginity perhaps. I give you a lot of tips on how to keep a hold of that if you need to. All right, well, that's about as good as I'm going to be able to get it. I'm embarrassed about it, but still. I think the next stage is scrape back the chassis. We're going to do some internal rust prevention, and we're going to follow that up with painting the chassis, and then the front wheels can go on. We can start reassembling the front bit. Having concluded our dismal efforts of welding the chassis, I've got to thinking, why doesn't the gas work on the welder? So we're taking off 5 little screws, 2 at the top, 3 along the bottom, and then there's 4 that hold the handle on. We'll go and have a look inside, see if there's anything obvious. Alright, so the gas is going to come in the back here, and we have a nozzle that goes nowhere. And look what we have here, a little tube connected to nothing. Wow, that might explain a lot. Alright, so I think if we fit that back on, and I have a feeling from this point on we'll be good to go. So to convert, encapsulate and seal the rust on internal frame surfaces, we're going to use this product from a company called Eastwood that does exactly what I just told you it's supposed to do. I don't know how good it is, but I do know that it's about $30 a can, and I've got like 3 of them. So yeah, that's fairly expensive. Now to get good coverage, I'm going to go ahead and drill some access holes at the bottom of the chassis that not only allow this tube to fit into, but also to allow that tube so it's that I can be assured that it goes this way or that way, rather than just straight up in the air. So it's going to be a little bigger than necessary, and there'll be a number of access holes drilled along the entire length to ensure that we get a damn good coverage. crap scraped off the chassis. It's had a little acid bath and then a good spray down. Going to let that dry and get ready to paint it with my super secret method that I don't want to tell anybody about. So we're going to call this an interval. Go and grab some popcorn, go to the dunny, and we'll be back. Intervals normally happen midway through a production, but here at Foreman and Wilms, we break all the rules, and we are at the end. But be prepared to brace yourself, because anywhere from now to the end of time, the next episode will surface, and in that we put together the front axle suspension and the swivel balls. This may be a little workshop, but the drama is huge.